Welcome to the Sovereignty Sage. I am your Sage Coach, Melania Johnson. This channel is about women's empowerment. My mother always said to me, Melania, women are the most powerful things on the planet. They just don't know it. Well, I'm here to help you to know it. So let's get into our conversation today. I'm talking to Black women, and I got a feeling that I'm going to be talking to us for a while now because we're under siege, we're under attack. And I think that we need to talk about what some next steps are and for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, right? We need to talk next steps. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to frame this really quickly as I can in terms of where we are today, what we need today, how do we set the foundation for generations to come. We're going to talk about economic independence. And we're going to talk about communication during a time of censorship. We have to have a plan. So with that, let me just get started, okay, shall we? So back in the 1960s, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. That was about 60 years ago. And for the past 60 years, we have had a void in leadership in the Black community. So now that we find ourselves under attack, we are to some extent scrambling, trying to get a plan together. We should have had a plan together before this moment came, because what happened was over the past 60 years, we have invested our energy in trying to break into a system that has never wanted us there in the first place. And you can see how much they did not want us there at the table, did not want us participating at higher ranks within organizations, did not want us to have contracts, so that now that within a stroke of a pen, our economic gains have been wiped away that quickly. 60 years of fight, 60 years of clawing, 60 years of trying to convince white folks that we are human and equal, and within a pen stroke, it was gone. We put our energies into the wrong place. Instead of trying to ingratiate ourselves into a society that never wanted us, we should have been building our own economic independence. So here we are. So here we are today. And so, how do we move forward? I want to share a quick little story, and it's based in family. The street that I live on is quite diverse. And there are people, immigrants from different countries who have come here. And I noticed that, from Asia, South Asia, right? And I noticed that you'll see them walk from one house down to the next house or another house on the street. And then you'll see that same person at another house on the street. And you then understand that these are families, right? They're families. And they have decided to build community together. So they move on the same streets together. They share homes together. They pool their financial resources together. And that is something that Black Americans are going to have to do. They're coming after us economically. I want to talk about, how we can build our families and build our economy. There is sometimes in the Black community, there is this sentiment that once you get 18, you got to get up out of here. You got to get your own place and do your own thing. And so what we're really saying is you have to leave and then go struggle on your own. Or you can do like other immigrant families have done when they come to the United States. They stay together. They stay in the same homes. They work and they pool their money together. And that is what we have to do. Not struggle individually, but collectively as a family unit. Build our family wealth, build our family economics. I see it in my neighborhood all the time. That's how immigrants can come from a country to a new country and thrive. while we've been here trying to survive. I'm so tired of that. How you doing? I'm surviving. Well, we got to do better than survive. So we have to start building a community within our families and sharing information. Now, there's some of us who have gone to school and we're tapped into our New York Times subscription and we have a pulse on what's going on, but there's other members in our family that don't. They didn't vote. They didn't understand. They don't maybe understand because of their news sources what's coming for them. We may know people within our communities that are receiving services and aid, which is going to be cut. It's been cut. And so they have to prepare for a new tomorrow. And we'll have to depend on family, and family will have to come to the rescue. But while we're doing that, we can be building something. I'm looking at where we are today, as frightening as it is, as disheartening as it is one of the biggest opportunities that we ever have had. We have more tools at our disposal now than our ancestors did. There is a global economy out there. I think I have shared that in the year 2030, Black spending is estimated to be $1.7 trillion. That's the GDP of Mexico, GDP of Canada, GDP of Italy. We spend as much as countries. What does the United States look like when you take as much of that money out of circulation in the economy? Something to think about. We have to build a different economic future. I remember, when Trump, was elected, as people were saying, "Oh, we got to get through these next 4 years." And I thought it used to make me mad when I heard people say that. I'm like, you're talking about the next 4 years. You think that there's going to be an election in 4 years? There might be. But I've shared some resources that the elections are rigged against us. We lose more votes, more of our ballots are invalidated than anybody else. The attack that is on us is multi-pronged. That's why we've got to be strategic. While we're trying to get through the next 4 years, they're putting into place a way to eradicate the work of the last 400 years, and as well as cripple us for the next century. We got to play a different game. We're not playing checkers, y'all. We're playing chess. So with that being said, you've got to build your families. Right? You've got to invest in your families. You have to have communications with your family. We're going to talk about communication. There is mounting a resistance. We are being surveilled. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm telling you the truth. If you have Microsoft 365, you will notice, and if you've had your subscription updated, that there's something embedded in all of your programs called Copilot. Copilot is an AI generative tool. Well, Copilot is sitting there, watching what you're doing, ready to help you, think and do your work for you. Well, I didn't want Copilot in my Microsoft Word document, so I tried to disable it. I couldn't. It took me a day or so to figure out how to disable it. I had to do some research on it. So I went in and I disabled it. And if you're trying to disable it, you go to File, you go to Options. I believe you'll see Copilot, or you might have to go into something more in Options. You'll see Copilot. You can disengage it. So then when I went into PowerPoint and tried to do it, Copilot was no longer there. Couldn't disengage it. So while I was doing my research on Copilot, I came upon something called Microsoft Recall, which is embedded in the software. Microsoft Recall take snapshots of your screen every 10 seconds. Now, they say that they don't keep that information, but do you trust them not to keep that information? Do you not understand that it is probably, stop to think about who has been supporting the president? Tech bros, right? Tech bros. Microsoft Recall every 10 seconds is taking a snapshot of your screen. Don't think that they don't have the ability to follow keywords and then target you for surveillance. It's coming. That's what happens in a dictatorship. So we have to have different forms of communication, old school. Don't trust your phones. Oh, I can use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is owned by Meta. You got to have old school conversations. Turn off your electronics and talk strategy in your families. We have had a void of leadership over the last 60 years. So I've got my eye on who is going to step up in this moment to become the leader and have a plan. I'm going to give you some resources as to some folks that you might want to follow and stay up to date with. This is not the time to bury your heads. Now, you cannot inundate yourself to the point where your mental health suffers, but you cannot bury your heads, because if you have children and grandchildren, you have got to fight with everything within you so that we do not leave them the desolate world that these billionaires are trying to create, rolling back EPA standards so that our world is polluted, rolling back education so we become the least educated country on the planet. Those who are less educated are more easily fooled and taken advantage of. Watch your dependence on AI. It's embedded in everything that we do so that we use it and start to look to screens to think for us, losing our ability to have critical thinking, creativity, and the ability to write. There was just an article being published that American students are operating, reading below the standard. 40% of fourth graders read below the standard. I think it's 36% for another age group. We don't know how to read, y'all. As it is, I think that things are published at a fifth grade level in the United States. They want you to be ignorant. We cannot afford to be ignorant. When I talk about building your family, I mean spending time with your children, teaching them how to read, teaching them how to write, teaching them how to do math, teaching them how to be the smartest people on the planet. That should be the goal. Investing time in your family. It's not about, keeping up with the latest dance or wearing the latest clothes. It is about thriving and getting beyond the onslaught of abuse that is underway in this country. Finding a communication source that is not tapped, that is not being monitored, having real conversations. Years ago, when I lived in New York, a friend asked me to do a catering job for her. It was for the Kennedys. Yes, the Kennedys. That family. They were having a family business meeting. They were very nice too. But here's the thing. We should be having family business meetings. What's the state of your family? And women are, I'm asking you to lead this because you have to. It's your children, your community. right? So let's talk about the economics of all of this, right? We have to build an economic independent future. And so we're talking a lot these days about boycotts and buying black, and I'm going to have some resources. There are some resources in the description to help you. But here's my message. Stop buying. Buy only the essentials. Whatever you've got, make do. Stop buying. And if you have to buy black. Do not support companies that don't support you. Now, there have been a few companies who have stood their ground when it comes to DEI. JP Morgan, Costco, Ben and Jerry's. If you're going to support a company, support those who support you. There have been talks about boycotts. And some people may have seen Tabitha Brown talking about, that there are Black-owned companies in Walmart and in Target. Well, we need to start circulating what those companies are, so that should you need to walk into a Target and a Walmart, you're only shopping their products. But here's the real deal. We got to get out of their stores and build our own. Because we've been trying to make headway into a system that does not want us, does not respect us, does not care for us, feels that we are disposable. I'm going to say this probably every time I talk to you. Keep your children out of prison. That's your job. Because we are seeing the deportation of immigrants. They're going to their jobs and deporting them, their jobs. These aren't gang members. These aren't drug dealers. These are people trying to live the American dream at their jobs that pay them nothing. Well, when that void comes, because the fruits and the vegetables are already rotting, who do you think is going to pick that cotton? Who do you think is going to pick that fruit, those vegetables? Prisoners. Black prisoners. Our ancestors would roll over in their graves. Don't let that happen. Keep your children out of prison. So let's go to the quote of the day, shall we? Don't get scared. Take action. This is an opportunity for Black people, for once and for all, to break our economic chains from white hatred. That quote came from me. This is an opportunity for us, y'all. This is an opportunity for us. So I want to give you some resources, right? So the first part of my conversations are always about the personal sovereignty, building up yourself, right? Then I turn the lens to collective sovereignty. So right now we are kind of in a holding pattern, trying to figure out, who's going to step into the leadership position in this community. So I want to provide you with some resources. So we're talking about one, buying Black. You may not know, or if you do, please do share it. But there is a website called shopthehood.com. It is a collective of Black businesses where you can buy products from Black people. They also, shopthehood.com also has a Facebook page. But please check it out, sign up. Also, Fanbase. Fanbase is a social media platform that is founded by a Black man, Isaac Hayes III. Check it out, support it. When it comes to organizing efforts and information, you can't get any better than Roland Martin. He is on YouTube. Support his channel financially. We have to be very careful where we get our information from. And please do not look at social media as an information source, because all the guardrails are off. So the way things work now is, if you hear or see something over and over again, you begin to believe that it's true, even when it's not. Inform your kids. Let them understand that TikTok, Instagram, that is not news. Find a news source. I have a subscription to the New York Times, and I'm looking at them side-eye, because if they start to turn and start kissing the ring, that subscription will end. But I do have a subscription to Ground News, who is unique. They show you how a story is being presented, what side it's leaning on, right, left, independent. It shows if there's a blind spot, meaning maybe this story is being really discussed a lot on the right, but not so much on the left, or vice versa, or maybe it's the independents. But you can see where this story is falling and who's promoting it, and you can clearly see who is not, and understand why they may not be. Also, make certain that you follow, and you don't even have to have subscriptions. You can follow different news outlets outside of the country. Understand that we are being isolated from the WHO, isolated from even getting information about what is tracking or trending in terms of health, and from our CDC. We are increasingly being isolated. So try to make certain that you get news sources that are outside of this country, so that you know what other countries are reporting on us, because you cannot always trust the information that you're going to see. We're living in very different times. I would also encourage you to check out a Marxist economist called Richard Wolff. Dude is brilliant, okay? And he gives you, he talks about the economics of what is going on, which you should be aware of, but he's also a historian, and he helps you to frame things so you understand where you are today. And if you didn't know or kind of suspected, the United States is in a decline. Oh, not because we're throwing out our diversity efforts and we're rounding up people. No, we are in a global decline. You've heard the word BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa. While we are debating DEI and pulling back civil rights laws, right? They are collectively working with Black and brown people around the globe to create a new economy. We are on the decline. We will be outpaced very shortly. We are the most indebted nation on the planet. And that debt is going to come with a price tag that your children are probably going to have to pay for, and in the worst way, because it's going to collapse an economy. Pay attention. Richard Wolff is someone to follow. You can follow him on YouTube. He gives it to you straight, and you should see the big picture. So I have run my mouth enough for one day. I am going to encourage Black women to make certain that they take care of their mental health and their mental well-being. I run in my company, Be Smart Coaching, a 6-week mental fitness program. There's an amazing app app to track your daily exercises, weekly group coaching, which I facilitate, digital copy of the best-selling book, Positive Intelligence by Shazad Shamin, who is the founder of this movement. Learn more by going to www.besmartcoaching.com. And I am looking for a cohort of 5 people, just 5 folks. So that's it for me today, y'all. I've run my mouth enough. If you have found anything of value in this conversation today, please like and subscribe. Subscribe and like. Be interactive, because that is the only way that I can get found in the algorithm. I'm not talking for myself. I'm talking to help as many people forward as I can. I thank you for your time and your attention. Find me next week, Wednesday, live on YouTube, broadcasting to you the Sovereignty Sage. Thank you, and be safe.